my name is Tim Palm, and my artist name is DJ Arthro, and I am a musician and a student at KTH, which is the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden, and I study computer science and education.
And maybe you want to
My name's Tim Yates. I'm an instrument builder and a sound artist, and I run the Research and Development Program for Drake Music, which is a charity that builds accessible instruments.
My name is Vahakn Matossian, and I run a company called Human Instruments, and we develop accessible music tech.
So this was at the Music Tech Fest event, which Michaela and other organize. And so it was my first, and it was your first as well.
Yeah, my first.
And
Could be my fourth.
yeah, and we just decided we split up in teams, and we came up with one team that would work on accessibility. And so we started discussing, and then they started to ask me a lot of questions about how do I perform and what's my problematics, and I made a long list. Yeah, and then we found one that actually felt possible to do a solution in 4 days, because the event was in 4 days. Yeah.
how was it then to perform?
It worked. So on 4 days we got the first prototype of Loopfree working.
So we made a really quick and dirty prototype at the event, which showed that it could work. And then I immediately won the KTH Innovation Prize with that prototype. So they helped us, kind of pushed us a bit to make it even better. So we got together and streamlined it, basically worked out the problems. Tim Yates did an amazing job doing the programming, and I was doing the hardware, just making sure that the buttons are where they're going to be, that when you punch them they're not going to break, and that it was the right length of travel so that Tim could feel what was happening when he was hitting it, and making it so he could really use it himself and would have as little help from someone else as possible.
It's still in an early state, we could say. We are hoping to get it really efficient, and as of now, if we are in bigger venues, the wireless might be problematic because we have wireless microphones and all that. So it will still be a development depending on how big venues I will perform at. That's one of the things that still has to be developed. And then we also have different functionalities. We could have, I could play drums on that if we wanted. We can make it more efficient with all those buttons, with just having a more efficient code.
So you've got a lot of stuff
Yeah,
that's still happening.
it's a really modular concept, and the idea is both for me and other people to be able to use it. So in this case, it's a 3D case that looks like this, but you can also, for example, use conductive paint and paint on a wheelchair. So if I want the buttons on my neck, you could go from the device to the neck and send wireless data to the computer. So the thing is to have the coding and the concept of 4 or 5 buttons being the same, but with the idea that everyone can use their own modular version, so that we enable loop-free for everyone.
Loopfree, custom Loopfree
Yeah.
to everyone.
So, I mean, the challenge with building accessible instruments is that they often need to be bespoke. They need to be designed specifically for the individual, and that's often a very expensive and complicated process. And so part of what we're trying to do with this project is to find ways where we can build the frameworks for accessible instruments, which means that bespoke instruments can be made for people much more easily and cheaply and simply using the frameworks that we develop. So really the idea is that it's just a base of what could become a much wider ecosystem of instruments.
When I read about it, I was like super interested, mostly because the broad variety, because our project is quite a niche project, and to find a way that we actually could be in more than one category, and everyone, like from branding to actual instruments to all these different kind of stuff. So I think it's really representative of what music is. Wireless needs to be way more. Wireless will be nice for everyone. And I'm also thinking touchscreens. I think touchscreen with more tactile response. Because now when I perform on a touchscreen and I press, I have no idea if I hit the button or not, and there's also no pressure sensitivity. So I can't perform with velocity like you play on a real piano, for example. So I think touchscreens with more tactile information and more velocity is one of the things that's going to change, at least for me, and accessible performing.
Anything you'd like to add?
I'd like to add.
Yeah.
I think it's really clear that music tech is going towards audio for people to make music and not necessarily publish it, but to enjoy making it using phone apps and stuff. Innovations I predict are much more inclusion and much more accessibility. And the reason I think we can predict it is because we're part of the people that are making it, and we're part of the people that see others get excited about it. And as soon as you open the doors and you do inclusion or you do access, actually the people that are included it's not necessarily disabled people, it becomes really everyone. If you enter a truly accessible building, you may not even notice, but your body and your spirit will notice. And you go, oh wow, this is a nice building. I wonder why it's so nice. Everything works and it's in the right place. And basically, the access is just much more open. And so the future of music tech is accessible.
Because the thing with accessibility is that now it's often combined only with the disabled people. And I think that's wrong. It's not like disabled people and non-disabled people. When it's fully accessible, it doesn't matter if you're disabled or not. And that's when we're getting real close towards the important thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're actually at a very exciting moment in the sense that a lot of the technology that we're using to build our accessible instruments is very cheap and very easy to get hold of, and you don't necessarily need a master's in electrical engineering to be able to use it and to make useful things from it. And I think in the kind of in that kind of space, there's so much work that can easily be done and so many possibilities for really interesting and powerful projects to be made. And I think that wasn't the case 10 years ago, certainly not 20 years ago. And so it's really an exciting time to be working in this area.